Liftoff will start in T-minus 10 seconds.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hey guys, welcome back to Jamal's Tube, also known as Cruise Rising Slow. In this video, we'll be talking about the Chana Stewartii or Chana Stewartii. In regards of the sizing for Chana Stewartii, in captive bred, they can only go up to about 30 to 32 centimeters, depending on the tank size you have housed them in. In the wild, they can go up to 35 to 40 centimeters. In your aquariums, much smaller sizes, because of the size limitation can impact how big your Chana can go. Where can you find them in the wild? They're native towards northeast India, Nepal, Bangladesh, and Bhutan. Are known to inhabit hill streams and clear mountain waters. When you take care of them in your aquarium, you have to make sure that their pH stays from 6 to 7.5. Anything more can affect your fish, really affect how active your fish becomes. These guys are found in cooler water temperatures, often at 18 to 26 degrees Celsius. Keep them cold water. You want to also add Indian almond extract into the water to help them regulate their skin, as well as creating a healthier environment for them. And do not keep them too hot in a place. I would say 28 degrees would be just nice. 29 to 30, depending on some seasons. I understand in different parts of the world it might get hot, so they can tolerate it, not for the long run. Generally, keep them in a constant 24 degrees to 28 degrees Celsius. In terms of its tank size, because the full size of your Chana Stewartii might only go up to 30 to 35 centimeters, depending on the year, the size of your Chanas. So I would say 2 feet to 3 foot would be good enough for a single Chana Stewartii. If it's an adult size, I would perhaps go for a 3 foot minimum tank. Ideally, since a 3 foot would have a width of about 45 centimeters. So this would be the most minimum tank size that you can go for a full grown size Chana Stewartii. They take a while to get into their fully grown size. So you can expect about 2 years, 2.5 years to 3 years for them to reach up to 35 centimeters. If you really want to go for the maximum size, then you can go for the 150 centimeters with a height 60 centimeters. How you want to set up this tank? You don't want to get 150 centimeter tank and keep it bare, especially for a really small, medium to dwarf sized snakehead that the Chana Stewartis are known as. For filter systems, you can try canister systems. However, with canisters, you will have to improvise on setting up a cover for your tank, such as this one here, because they are great jumpers. Yeah, so if you put a canister with a pipe inside the tank, then you have to consider on fitting that lid so that they don't jump out. Even the small, tiniest gap can make your Chana Stewartii jump. That's what happened to mine. That's why I can't really show you, because the one I had, actually, there was a hole this big. Yeah, pretty much he jumped out and he's dried up now. This was almost a year ago, so I still have not healed from that wound. Stewarties are beautiful. He would have been a beautiful specimen, but that jump really shortened his lifespan. So once again, with filter systems, I personally went with just a sponge filter. Sponge filter, you can attach the silicone tube. You can also fit into your covers. So with it, it was much easier to maintain its health compared to having a big and large bulky filters. To add into the filter systems, you can use a top filter as well, as long as you can fit a cover there. The top filter can also simulate waterfall in the wild, and that's something that can keep the water fresh. So top filter, sponge filter, they all go with it, especially the Chana Stewartis. They're okay with flow. So go ahead with whatever you want to do, as long as you can fit cover and as long as you get proper filter system inside the tank. You can go with fast flowing water in your tank. However, I personally went with only a sponge filter, and that provided adequate filtration and minimal flow. Like Chanas, they do prefer still water sometimes, not too still water where there's no running filter system. A sponge filter was good enough. You might have to fill up your tanks, especially if you're going with 150 centimeter to begin with for your small Chana Stewartii. I don't recommend that. You're gonna need a lot of decorations. You wanna create rocks that look like hills, as well as caves where your Chana Stewartii can hide. This can make your Chana Stewartii hide for a long time. However, it will also give them a place, a home. They can always go there to be secured and comfortable. Driftwoods are very, very important for Chana. They help maintain the water pH as well. So you want to go ahead and put a lot of driftwoods in your tank. Do note, if you're just gonna get a new dry driftwood into the tank, it's gonna float up 99% of the time. So you need to soak the driftwood first. And plants, if you guys want to go with plants, you can put the Anubia types or the floating ones. Just to put a cover, it breaks the line of sight, especially if you go with a big tank, so they don't feel the need to jump as often, and they are protected when they are near the surface of the water. Floating plants, recommended. In terms of the tankmates, I would only keep with one first, juvenile, and get it personality based. But there are different types of people as well. There are people who would rather go with a pair or a group of Chana Stewarties. If you want to go proceed with this way, it's not the way I went. I went more towards the personality and keeping one Chana. So sorry guys, there's a goddamn fly here. But yeah, I went with the personality path where I kept one Chana and a minimum size tank. There are people who will also go with a big sized tank and start with a group of Chana Stewarties. This is a good approach if you want to pair one pair. However, even then you might have to eventually separate, especially if they reach maturing adult size and they procreate. The babies of each pairs will be eaten by the other ones because the tank is not meant to have, they're just not meant to have two pairs of Chanas mating together in one tank. I've never seen that happen. Even in the wild, they will always find their own spots. So if you go with a group, I do not know why you would do this, but all the best. Though, of course, eventually you will. Big chance of getting a pair and babies. So good for that. But the rest of them probably will fight and not have enough food and eventually die one day, float, be eaten by the other much healthier Chana Stewarties. Now, the behavior of Chana Stewarties are closing towards the middle-sized Chanas that you can find in the wild, in the world. They are aggressive and territorial. They get big compared to the dwarf Chanas, but they are small compared to the large-sized Chanas. So it's best to keep them alone. Juveniles can tolerate groups. However, once they reach maturity, they might want to find their own little spot. And this means fighting others for that spot, may it be other fish species or the same Chana species as well. They're gonna find they wanna have their own spot. That's why a lot of people start with a small tank. 3 foot 90 centimeter tank would be just nice. In terms of the background, I've kept them in white as well as black background. Both of them look good. To be honest, the black one would enhance more of the blue color. It's blue fin, but make the body much darker as compared to having a light background. In terms of the substrate as well, I've placed them in both pebbles, different colors of pebble, and red sand. They're not too picky in this because their colors are not like Chana Marolioides, where the environment will be a high factor. In the Chana Stewartii's case, the environment color will play a factor. However, the genetics of it will play a much bigger factor. So if you can, at a young age, try to find the Chana Stewartii that, let's say, in the tank that you're finding them in the aquarium shop, you can find one with the most intense blue coloration and these spots in the body. That's the one you want to catch and bring home, because it already shows you that even in that setting, they have that personality where they were more dominant compared to the other ones, were much more quieter, were parking, and no intense coloration. So yeah, to summarize a little bit on you can play around with the background colors, both white or black. You can also proceed with creating a background as well. Decorate it with a lot of decorations, driftwoods, and rock. They do come from a hill area, so a lot of rocks are okay with them. Just make sure the rocks don't raise too high of the pH. Sometimes too much rock can create 8.0 pH, and this will make your Chana Stewartii just not wanting to swim, lazy, or just uncomfortable with the water. Put a driftwood there to balance it out, or put a few driftwoods and also add vegetations. Put plants in your Chana Stewartii tank. My advice is I went ahead with first keeping it in a 30 centimeter tank while it was a very small size, no more than 3-4 inches. And then eventually when it grew slightly bigger, which took 6 months, the Chana Stewartii grew very slow. Then I moved him to a 40 centimeter tank. When I moved this, he adapted quite well and he was still show-offing and not parking like a lot of new fish that are introduced in a tank would do. So I noticed that the personality was already feisty and this was good. However, in that tank, there was a small little hole like I've mentioned earlier and he jumped out. I only found out the next day when he was dried up. So this is not good. This is not good for them. Ultimately, I would have put him in a 2 feet 60 centimeter tank once he was fully grown, like about 30 to 35 centimeter, when that 2 feet tank was no longer good for him environment. So then you can proceed with a 3-foot tank or go for the 150 centimeter tank. Now some key facts about free talk right now, free talk session on the Chana Stewarties. For your aquarium, I would advise maximum of 150 centimeters length, which is about almost 5 feet. However, that is what the internet says. I am also the internet. That's why you guys are watching me on YouTube. Subscribe to Jamal's Tube. In terms of the tank size, the internet will tell you to go put them from 4 to 5 feet tank sizes. That's fine, that's cool, that's all right with you. However, a lot of the information is also from the western side of the world where, no hate, okay, just no hate guys. Common to find too grand, too excess in size. In this part of the world, I see things differently. In the other part of the world, I see things differently too. My advice is I went ahead, Chana Stewartii, put them in a much smaller tank when they were very, very small. Once they got used to that tank, then I upgraded the tank size. That's what I did, 60 centimeter tank until they reach juvenile size or almost reaching fully grown. Then you can move them towards with a 2 feet big size tank. I'll tell you guys more about this in future videos. However, I'm gonna stick it short for this Chana Stewartii video. But that's it for now. Thank you very much for watching. I hope this covered your thoughts and perhaps some anything I missed out. Please comment down below. If you have not subscribed to my channel, subscribe, comment down below, as well as hitting this video a thumbs up. That's all for today. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace. All the best with your Chana Stewartii.